Today we're going to be looking at Lime Crime in the color Aesthetic. I can't seem to find these little sample packets anymore, which is kind of sad because I really like them, but if you weren't aware, they did used to sell them, and that is what I have here. So my swatches are human hair swatches, but the only swatch that's going to be virgin hair is going to be the number 4 black swatch. Otherwise, the rest have been chemically colored or bleached at some point in their existences. Also, the numbers are not the same as the hair levels. I do different video clips and pictures and whatnot, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. So 1 is green. I often get a lot of requests when I'm doing pink or purples to do it with green, so that's what that is. 2 is gray. 3 is a natural red. 4 again is black. And then 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde. And then number 12 is like a toned version of number 11. So I will start by taking the dye directly out of the container, and I will be applying it to the top of each swatch. Some people do like to dilute their dyes, so I will do a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take color differently. Plus, different screens and monitors can make colors look different too, especially like undertones. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. For the diluted section, we're going to do a 1:4 ratio, so that's going to be 1 part of the dye to 4 parts of our diluter. Now, if you're wondering what diluter is, I always give a very simple answer that it is something that just kind of lightens the color of your semi-permanent dye. Each brand usually does sell a mixing medium, a diluter, that you can use with their brand. But to keep things fair, I always just use a plain white conditioner to dilute. Alright, so I really want to give these time to absorb the color, so I'm going to let them sit for about 3 hours. I'll then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I will meet you back here and we'll do some comparisons. There is a bird right outside my window, so if you hear anything, sorry about that. So number 1 was originally green. Definitely still see that on the diluted section. The direct dye, I would say it covered the green, but it doesn't really look like that kind of pinky color that Aesthetic I think is meant to look like. I'm not even really sure what color to pinpoint it as. It almost looks like a gray, but not quite. I don't know. It's really interesting. 2 was originally gray. It covered both the direct dye portion and the diluted section. As usual, the biggest difference is that it looks a little bit more cool toned in comparison to the blonder swatches, and a little bit darker. On the number 3 swatch that originally was a natural red, it kind of looks like a pinky version of a natural red. which I know sounds kind of goofy, but it's the best way I can describe it. There might be a difference on the bottom half, but I don't really see it. To me, it looks closer to just the natural red on its own. As usual, number 4 did not take any color. 5, I kind of see a difference between the top and the bottom, but it's not really that big of a difference, so it still looks relatively brown on both the top and the bottom. The top might look a little bit darker, but still brown. It seems like the number 7 is where you kind of start to see more of that pink coming through. Number 6, there is a difference once again, but it almost changed the undertone mostly. It kind of reminds me of number 3, where it still looks like a natural red, just more pink. It almost just looks like you're changing the undertone of your medium brown hair. I don't know if this color is meant for anything darker than blonde, so I will say, you know, even if it takes on your hair, there is a chance, especially if it's virgin, that your hair will just kind of wash out the color. But I do notice that warmer tones tend to stick in the hair a little bit better, so I always recommend a strand test before doing your whole head. And then with 8, 9, and 10, it kind of just seems to get a little bit more pigmented as the hair underneath lightens for the direct eye portion. For the diluted portion, there's not actually a huge difference. It did take better on number 10 versus the 8 and the 9. So definitely don't dilute it as much as I did if you are looking for kind of a rose gold color. This could definitely work, but maybe a little less diluter. I think I personally like it the most on both 11 and 12. The 12 changes the undertone a little bit because it was toned. It does look a lot more cool toned. So I do like both the cooler version and the warmer version. I think both are very pretty. And while the diluted section did take to these, I think it could have been better. I think, again, I just diluted it a little bit too much, but it definitely doesn't look blonde anymore. So if you are looking for like a soft pinky blonde, maybe diluting it that much would be okay. So I actually haven't done a ton of these like softer kinds of pinks, so I don't have a lot to compare this to, but I do like to have at least 2 comparisons. So I kind of want to start with this mix that I actually have from Arctic Fox, and that is Ritual mixed with Girls Night. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, and number 10. So for my mix videos, sometimes I will do up to 3 separate ratios. So on this one I did do that. So the top is its own mix, the middle is its own mix, and the bottom half is its own mix as well. Ritual is kind of a burgundy and Girls Night is a pastel purple color. So on its own, it does look a little bit darker anyways because of the Ritual. So if we were talking purely undertone, I think this top part of the mix is probably a little bit more similar, which I will link the video down below. It might be an older video, so bear with me. But if we go for lightness, then the middle one might be a little bit more similar, especially on this number 10. I think, again, if you maybe took some diluter to the top mix here, you might get the closest to aesthetic. Otherwise, the more Girls Night you add, the more purple it gets, which is a little bit less like the aesthetic. But it is one of my closer color matches out of everything that I've done. The other comparison I wanted to do today is Lunar Tides in the color Smoky Mauve. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, and number 10. Once again, I used to do 2 separate diluted parts. So this is the direct dye, a diluted part, and another diluted part. Just in case you're wondering why it looks like that. I see a lot more purple coming through for the Smoky Mauve. I think it could be similar if it was a little bit more red because the aesthetic isn't super bright. It is a little bit more smoky like the Smoky Mauve, but definitely much more warm toned. And I did mention that warm tones tend to stick to the hair a little bit better in my experience. So if your hair is a little bit darker than a platinum blonde, you probably would have better luck with the aesthetic because it does have those warm tones versus the Smoky Mauve. Alright, so now I'd like to get into our before and after clips. Those, as well as anything you see past this point, will all be done in natural lighting. I hope this video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.